Hello and welcome to the Brazilian BA guests. We have different chats every week here in this channel on YouTube, the Brazilian BA, or on LinkedIn. If you are not subscribed yet, please do so right now. Subscribe to the Brazilian BA and click on this bell so you will be warned every time we have a new interview for you. And we are talking this month about Nimble in different perspectives. My guest today is Mr. Ryland Leon. Come on, Ryland. Thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here. Good to see you today.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. Ryland, I invited you because I know you are one of the mentors behind this masterpiece called the Agile extension of the BA Book Guide. So, I know the BA Book Guide is method agnostic, but you even could create or identify some different ideas about how to do business analysis in Agile. One of those ideas is related to 3 different horizons, and that's what brings us for the first question today. How can Nimble be perceived in the 3 Agile Horizons? If you could start by explaining for those who have never heard about this concept, what are the 3 Agile planning horizons? I think that should be nice.
Sure. Let me give that a stab at that. So the thing that was going on when we came up with the Agile extension was we realized we're trying to talk about different ways of seeing things, because in agility, you're saying we're adapting to change, right? We're valuing change. We're trying to harness it to help the customer and help the business, things like that. And we were having a hard time figuring out what we were describing at. We didn't want to say levels because there's no superiority to any level. The things we're talking about being the really close, kind of in the middle, or highly strategic, there's no superiorness to one or the other. There's nothing better or worse about any of those levels. And eventually we settled on the term horizon because we felt that people would understand this idea that as you move through space, right, things coming over the horizon become closer to you and are more easily seen. So there is this concept in horizon that you might be higher or lower from the ground, which changes how far in front of you you can see, and also what's important to you. So the farthest distance away, in a sense, this is one way of seeing these things, is the strategy horizon. That's the overall things perhaps seen very high from the ground level. You're looking down at these things. You're not seeing the details because you're way too far away from them to see it. But you can tell if you're going in the right direction, if it's a direction you even intend to go in the first place. That's kind of the strategy level.
It's like an airplane view. You're looking for the whole city. You can see the whole.
Yes, you're seeing things at the big picture, right? Should we even be going the direction we're going? Is east or west? Should we even be traveling that way? And if you know you want to be going east and you're traveling west a little bit, unless it's a very short detour and you know it, we're doing something wrong, right? Mm-hmm. That's part of the idea. So that's one way of seeing it. The strategy level is the big picture. You can see the things you're doing in the context of everything around you, but you lose the details. You are not in the details of the work being done right this minute, okay? And then I think it's probably easier if I go down to the delivery horizon, which is the lowest level of delivery, right? That's where you're doing things. At the lowest level from the ground, the closest to you from the horizon level, right? The things near to you versus far away. And these are the things you are doing right now. In Agile terms, this is your sprint backlog, right? This is the current sprint, the sprint backlog you're working on, and maybe just far enough into next sprint to know what you're planning to do. I'm doing these things now, doing those things next. Everything else is later, maybe. That would vary as well, depending on how fast your sprints, how many weeks your sprints go, how much velocity you have, things like that. But that's the idea. And again, we're framework agnostic as to what agility framework you're using. I'm just using terms that are colloquially available. If you're doing a Kanban flow, you might be saying, these are the works that are typical. These are the things that we typically will get done in the next week to 2 weeks. Maybe that's your horizon, the distance of this horizon. So that's your delivery horizon. What am I doing right this minute? What's happening? And then your initiative horizon is somewhere in between those, right? So if this is up to the highest delivery would be, and this is down to the lowest, you could still call it strategic, Initiative is the stuff in between that connects the dots. If we were talking about altitude, right? You've got ground level for your delivery. You've got airplane for your strategic. And you've got somewhere in a tallish building
Right.
between. And that's your initiative horizon. And there's a lot of interplay between these. There's information flowing back and forth between them. I'm not saying there is more than one person involved. This could all be the same business analyst working at these ways with the product team,
Okay.
a group of people collaborating. It could be anything. It's just a way of describing where in our thinking is the thing we're talking about at this minute. Strategy, initiative, or delivery. Which horizon are we discussing?
Despite the fact that one single person could do business analysis in the three horizons, would you say that they're playing different roles? And by role, I mean a strategic business analysis, a business analysis defined in an initiative to understand what this initiative should bring as an outcome for that specific initiative, and in the delivery horizon, more specific details about a feature that we are building or something we are delivering in the next sprint. So usually, I would say that in big organizations, probably not in small ones, but in big organizations, this should be played by different roles or even different professionals. Or,
go ahead.
I'm not saying it must be. I think it usually is done by different perspectives. Or don't you agree with that?
So I think it depends on, and I'm going to name frameworks and purposes, right? Like,
Okay.
let's just talk about, again, I'm going to use things people frequently talk about as opposed to the esoteric ones. So if we're talking about whether it's one person or several, let's remember if a team is able to execute on their own and they're the only team, they're one of maybe 3 or 4 teams in a given company, there's 1 or 3 or 4 product teams, then maybe you don't need different people, because you know that your product roadmap, you know what you're looking at getting done as a BA or guiding person in agility. Could be a product owner, could be whoever's playing the role of that person who's filling up and keeping strategy ideas on the backlog, right? You're filling up that, and you've got an idea of what you're going to get to in what sprint, roughly, right? That might just be one person. Like for me right now, that's what I'm doing with the group I rushedly left. We were in a backlog meeting and we were working through, all right, we're your team of consultants. We're working with you, with the client I'm dealing with right now and happily working with. And we're saying, okay, I know what you want to get done now. And then suddenly the developer and I were talking and said, actually, we'll be done with that whole stack of things you've got listed there, probably within the next 1 to 2 sprints at the most. And I said, all right, our horizon just came in a little bit. I got to fill up a backlog for 3 weeks away. What's next? And how much do I know about it? Am I ready to analyze it and write stories and have something useful for the dev team in 3 weeks? So I'm working at all the horizons I need to. Now, converse to that, the far other extreme is, let's take something like a giant company that has a suite of products, perhaps a popular company called, beginning with M or maybe a G, and they have a suite of interconnected products. Sure, they got product teams, but they have a lot more interdependency as to who's doing what, right? Mm-hmm. They may need a horizon that is purely somebody dealing with the strategy horizon, who really deals with a lot of the coordination, and then has an initiative horizon, and then it gradually gets down to the developer horizon or the delivery horizon within the teams. So, because there's just so much volume of information and work to do to coordinate amongst the teams, they're using a scaling framework of some kind. Those are just the reasons I would say it doesn't always have to be the same person, but to your point, there doesn't have to be different people is really where I'm thinking. And the fewer, the better, because, right, then you have fewer communication. Yeah, you don't have to share, you don't have to reset context and share information constantly. It's already here. You know what you already communicate with yourself pretty well. If you don't, I can recommend organizations to talk to who can help you communicate with yourself better. But if you're doing that, then you have shorter communication chains and it's easier. But yeah, the bigger it is, the more communication, the more people you have to have involved, then you start to need to do scaling, and maybe you have to parse the information across different people.
Yeah. Like every other roles in an organization. If your organization is too big, it makes sense to specialize some tasks or some disciplines into roles and different job functions. But if it's small and you have someone who can do all the work, why not?
Yeah.
We have someone following us on LinkedIn. I don't know what's your name. I thank you for subscribing to my YouTube channel. I know you are already subscribed to Ryland. Please put your name over there because LinkedIn is not showing your name for us. I don't know. Sometimes
That's awesome. Okay, that's great. Yeah, I'm seeing a few things on LinkedIn, and by all means, throw questions in if you have them. And I know we'll look towards that when we get to the right time. Fabricio is guiding this one. It's great to just attend for a change.
Right, this is one point of our question for today. We started defining the 3 Agile Horizons, and I like it that you show it even if it's the same person doing, it should do from different perspectives. Sometimes this person or whoever is doing this business analysis should do this based on different or horizons, looking for the strategy, looking for the initiative, or looking for the delivery. And they probably have different techniques they should use on those 3 different horizons, and they should probably think about different outcomes from these 3 different horizons. And the question is, how can we relate that to Nimble? And I probably should help you on that, bringing you the definition of Nimble. I have been working on this. Nimble, for those who have never heard of it, it was published in this study. It's a research made by IIBA called Being Nimble, the scalable capability for organizations to sense and respond to change. And by the definition here, Nimble is very much close to Agile. I know that in English, sometimes you use those 2 words interchangeably, like, oh, I'm being Nimble, I'm being Agile, and there's not very much difference on those. But based on this definition here, the difference is when I'm talking about Agile, I'm talking about a way of work. Like my organization is doing Agile. I believe we have a backlog, we have someone looking for epics, transforming those in stories. We have, as you said, a sprint, or maybe if not a sprint, we have a Kanban. We have some methods of work, some frameworks that are being used in our organization. When I say I am nimble, I'm not reframing about how I do my work. I'm defining an ability I have, despite the way I do, but that I can sense and respond to change rapidly and precisely. So the difference between those 2 ideas or those 2 concepts is that one concept talks about ways of working, Agile. The other concept talks about an ability of being able to sense and respond to change despite the way of working. I know a lot of people call this agility, and I could agree with those, but this word becomes sometimes kind of overload, and we hear people saying something like, oh, we're doing Agile, but we are not Agile. And that makes not much sense when you say like that. So if you say we are doing Agile, but we are not nimble yet, maybe you are doing something wrong, or you can do something different, and you can adapt better to become more nimble, to sense and respond to change faster and with more precision.
Okay.
Yeah. Want to bring your thoughts about that, because I'm going to bring the question back.
No, go ahead. Well, let's do a thing. I think you stacked a lot of good information for our audience here, including me, honestly, because it's great to look at that. And you're right. In English, those words are very close together, and they're sometimes interchangeable. So let me put it this way. The thing I took away to remember is when I use the word nimble today, I'm definitely talking about the ability of a business to react to changing conditions, just the business, regardless of what framework of software development they're using.
I think you can open for more than the business. It could be for a person or for a team. And so, and that's part of the question here, right? So let's do this exercise. I know you haven't done this before, so it's live. We are here to discuss this. How can Nimble be perceived in the 3 Agile Horizons? If I am in the delivery horizon, or if I'm in the initiative horizon, or if I am in the strategy horizon, how could I see that I am, or my organization is, being fast and precise in sensing and respond to change. What kind of changes, that may be helpful, what kind of changes do we have in the delivery horizon?
Well, first, I'm going to just continue this one thought for a minute because I liked it. And I looked at your article, which, by the way, if nobody's read, I believe it was it's Fabrizio's article in the Brazilian BA, his article about agile versus nimble companies. The way I took it was nimble is the description of is the company nimble, right? Is the company nimble is one.
Usually,
and then do they work in an agile framework is the other concept we're using. So I'll keep nimble for one meaning and agile for the other. I'm gonna have to make sure I stand in the right place. So as I gesture, I do not have Italian background personally, genetically, but I apparently use it a lot on screen. So I'm going to gesture with my hands a bunch. So at the different horizons,
I'm going to give you more space.
That's okay. Either one works. My room's a mess, so it's all good. Sorry, did you say a specific horizon you wanted to talk to first? Delivery?
Let's start with the delivery horizon.
Sure. So I think an important thing about being nimble, and that correlates well with agility, or it helps to be it helps for agility, but let's talk about nimbleness. Nimbleness being the business's ability to detect and react to changing conditions, let's say, right? If I'm building the most direct way to see this is I'm building some feature for some user, if I stay with the software space, okay? Though we could maybe as an experiment try a restaurant. Maybe that'll be our thought experiment for business nimbleness, because there's nothing software about it. And maybe it's useful for doing that. Okay, let's try that instead for a minute. At the delivery horizon for nimbleness in a business, if I'm a restaurant, what does that mean? That means if I find out my customers don't like shoestring fries and they prefer crinkle cut fries, then I should buy those tomorrow instead. Because what French fries I get with my sandwich when I order something matters a lot to me. And I don't go places that offer me shoestring fries. I hate them. I don't like them. Okay? I like other kinds, literally, personally. So this might be a good example. And we probably talk all the time, Fabrizio, because when we're we always come back to food. I noticed last time we did something with lasagna, right? This time I picked a sandwich shop. So we're gonna go with that. And I'm gonna have to eat more before we talk in the future. So that's an example of the delivery horizon. I've discovered something in the literal work I'm doing that said I should make a change because my customer will be happy. In software, that could have been a UX change, or it could have been the colors on a screen, or it could have been put these things next to each other versus above and below, right? Do I have to scroll to see something? Is there too much information and I should make a tabbed interface? That would be software that we could quickly learn and adapt to and change my plan. Maybe tomorrow my plan at the restaurant was I thought I was going to go out and investigate a different salad to put as a side offering. But I know about the fries today. I can start acting on it. I can be nimble about that. Does that make sense, you think?
That makes sense for me, yes.
Okay. I'm looking in the chat. It looks like a few people are there. And just so you know, in the chat,
there are some good ones like here.
There's some good ones.
I see Nimble, and by this comment, I might know who is the LinkedIn user. I think it's
also
Robert Snyder, and just let me know if I found you, because I know he's a very good dancer. The ability to respond to change, react to changing conditions. Metaphor number one, the dance floor. Can I keep my dance partner safe when I see danger approaching?
Okay.
Metaphor number two, if my podcast guest cancels, do I have a backup topic or backup guest?
There we go. And just so folks know, because I don't know if you do, I learned from one time on this that I think our messaging in chat here from the audience is like a minute delay, maybe something like that. So just be aware of that if we aren't reacting to you right away. Okay. Okay, so that I think we've talked about how you could visualize, react, and work with nimbleness.
Sensing and responding to change in the delivery horizon. I like that.
Sure.
And we're not talking about how to do the work. We're not talking about Agile. You didn't mention any backlog or something like that. You just mentioned it and gave us an example about sensing or responding to change. I like it.
Let me throw one more thing in. The point is to be different about framework agnostic, right? Let's pretend I'm a restaurant chain or a restaurant that has to order its supplies some distance ahead, right? If I discover it is a total deal breaker to have these shoestring French fries, okay, what could I do? Well, I can order them, but that's going to take the supply chain. It takes me, a month to get that volume of things ordered differently, right? Well, that's true. But I could also, if it's that important, I could take cash from the restaurant appropriately. I'm doing it for a reason. I'm going to get receipts. I could go to the store and buy the French fries I want and use them at lunch the next day, right? I have alternatives. I could adapt as a business. My point to that is to say, we really are saying, who cares about the framework? Whether it's waterfall, the long arc, agile, the next story, I could do something to make my life better for my customers if I'm willing to think about how I do that and less about the actual literal process. The process matters. I'm not saying break the process every time. But if one part of your process won't let you do something that you really should do at the delivery horizon, consider if there are alternatives that are still legitimate. They just aren't as preferable. But remember, your end customer doesn't care, right? You want to make that customer happy.
Yeah, and that really explains about being nimble. It really depends sometimes on people motivation or ability to find what's going on, and that's why when you said it's an organization ability, and it is, nimble is an organizational ability. That's the definition from the study. But it depends on people, and sometimes people don't use frameworks. They just go to the closest store and buy French fries to sell it because they see that's what is needed now.
Or if you find,
methodology.
yeah, and I think that's where so there's a business culture aspect. I think we haven't touched on this, but culture plays a huge component in whether a company can be nimble in the business sense, right? We know it plays a huge role in agile transformation. I think it's definitely going to matter in the nimbleness category. Maybe we'll pick up on that whenever you feel like it.
All right. And let's try to raise the bar to the initial, not raise the bar, but raise the horizon to the initiative horizon, right?
Sure.
And could you bring us an example about sensing and responding to change rapidly and with precision? And I'm calling rapidly and precision because to be nimble is not about to answer fast. You must answer correctly. There's a need of understanding what's going on. There's a need of analyzing different alternatives and finding the alternative that brings the best value for that specific context. So there's some business analysis on that, right? And so being nimble on the initiative horizon.
So our initiative horizon is kind of between our strategy and our delivery, right? And it's and that leaves it open as a question as to what it should be. Now, I'm not saying we don't define it in the Agile extension, but let me work in both for a minute because it'll just be easier. Strategy is that level of what should we do at all, in the sense of, given our business goal is to make more money or so forth, or to reduce our costs. Let me pretend, I'm going to riff continuing to use our restaurant thing for a minute. Okay.
That's good.
We've given a good example, I think, at the initiative level, at the delivery level, right? So the strategy level might be, what is the format of our restaurant? Is it casual? Is it fine dining? What is the cuisine of our restaurant? Is it Italian? Is it Brazilian? Is this steakhouse, or is it something more not well known? Is it Americana? Is it burgers and fries? Is it interesting sandwiches? What is the nature of it, right? Those might be strategic choices, because within that, we'll have our decisions about what we're doing. Like the initiative might be, what is our core menu and what are our specials, right? Because that'll inform what we order and what choices we make at the delivery, literally the delivery level, right? Mm-hmm. I'm making the meals as they're needed. That's literally delivery, right? And will we deliver, or will we use a service? Will we even allow it to go? Those things, right? There are restaurants you can't take out. We don't do takeout here. We're too nice. We're too fine. We don't make our food that way. Plating it is half the experience. I think that was your thing that when you were going to open that restaurant in Dallas. So anyway, that being said, okay, so the initiative level might be something like, and I'm obviously working on this as I literally improvising it, which I love doing, so that's cool. for me. I like this experience. Don't mind me. Don't mind me thinking about it a second. We will have let's pretend we're doing Americana, because I've already said we've got French fries. So we're doing sandwiches, and we will also do hot plates. Okay. So we might say at the initiative level, our sandwich menu is roast beef, turkey, vegetables, club, and a hamburger.
Defining the menu is an initiative. Would be an initiative,
right? Defining the core menu of sandwiches. Well, defining it was probably something we did as a piece of our preparation and strategy. But I'm kind of saying monitoring. I'm setting this up a little. That is our core menu. Monitoring which of those things are ordered frequently. Are any of them simply not ordered much at all, and we should eliminate them, right? You're monitoring something that is far lower level from strategy, right? We've decided we're an Americana restaurant. That's our strategy. It's done. We could change it, but we won't unless there's a reason, right? If we find no one's coming in because they want soul food or they want an international menu, then we need to change our format, because we're not going to get anybody in our restaurant. But overall, okay, we're a functioning business. We find they like the core menu. We're monitoring at the initiative level, how are our delivery things working, right? Are they continuing to advance? Are we running out of anything because it's in such high demand? Are we oversupplied and throwing out things because they go bad? No one's ordering that menu item. So far, making sense?
Yes, I'm trying to think about different initiatives in this Americana restaurant. And so you have like monitoring and managing the menu. You should have something like monitoring the supply chain of your the ingredients that are coming and buying those stuff.
Right.
You would have another
so
like cleaning, arranging your restaurants. And maybe I'm thinking more about functions than initiatives.
No, you're thinking about functions and not horizons.
Yeah, but I was trying to think of different initiatives in the same horizon.
So you are hitting a language issue, which is not about different languages, but about the use of a term. Frequently in business, we say, are you working on the such and such initiative, right? Which might be grow a customer sector or something, right? That's an initiative. That's a valid use of that word, and it's a true thing. What I'm saying as the initiative horizon is that we maintain, right, as a business goal, we maintain a menu of sandwiches, and we want to see, should we change our activity that we're doing in this menu based on our behavior we're observing, both delivery and initiative level. We've established that, yes, we're a functioning business. Our sandwiches are a thing that people buy. That's the strategic level. That is a successful strategy. Sell sandwiches. What sandwiches should we sell? Initiative level. Deliver the sandwiches in question. Delivery level. Remember I said there's feedback amongst these three levels? I've kind of gestured at the strategy to initiative feedback loop. Are we selling anything and making a profit? Yes. Is it enough to justify the continued direction of this strategy? Yes. Good. Strategy check. Initiative check. Initiative to delivery. Which sandwiches are selling and which are creating waste, and which do I have opportunity to sell even more if I just had the ingredients, right? That's an initiative level decision to make, because it will inform different behavior at the delivery level. These are horizons I'm looking at. But if, and what you might say, I'm not sure I could say this completely accurately, but let me try. The strategy and initiative levels are mostly decision and direction choices, right? Because all the action, the actual get it doneness, happens at the delivery level.
Okay.
Even if what you're doing at the delivery level is enablement of future delivery, such as supply chain activities. I have to order things right now to make sure they're here next week. Okay. But I have to do it now. It's a delivery activity. I have to do it now. What should I order for next week is informed by the choices at the initiative level and, to a degree, the strategy level. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. So I like the idea of having different kinds of decisions on the three different horizons. On the delivery horizon, have decisions very connected to the actual work being done, and from a very short term. In the strategic horizons, like the organization decisions, your strategy, what you do, and in the initiative level, or not level, sorry, the initiative horizon, you have decisions about how to make that delivery work flow better, or what connections can I make in the delivery teams or different structures. There's a very nice comment here. I was holding to show that from Brienne, and she said, when I was a business analyst working in the initiative that has delivery horizon, and we did not have anyone doing BA at the strategic level, it was very noticeable there was a void. I now work at the strategy horizon to enable the initiative and delivery horizons, as well as the business and strategic planning.
Mm-hmm.
Would you comment on that?
Sure. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's a little bit analogous to the why, what, and how, although it's not strictly connected, but I could see where for Brienne, this is why it's ticking in my brain, right? What are we going to do and how are we going to do it? Those are straightforward questions in most BA worlds, right? I can see what your requirements are, and I can talk with the developer about the details of the how we're going to do it. So I see the what and the how. The strategy thing that might have been missing is why. Why are we doing this, right? And actually, it leads into a thing I talk with about. I talk with at interviews a lot. A test I give to BAs. So if you're ever interviewing with me, God help you. It doesn't happen a lot, but God help you. I always look for people who are going to push back. If I give you a scenario and you don't have why, which is the strategy thing, why are we going to make this change? Why does the stakeholder want what they want? If we don't have a good definition of that in the requirement, or at least we don't know it, and we can cross-check, you want to achieve this outcome, you're asking me for this thing, and we're going to do it this way. Well, if I can't make a line out of those 3 points, something might be wrong. I might be totally successful, kind of like the chaos report. I think it was the chaos report, right? Or the Standish report? Standish Group did the chaos report. We're great at building software that nobody uses because we didn't understand the why.
Yeah. Or we are trying to understand what's the best Americano sandwich that people like in Italy, and nobody eats an Americano sandwich in Italy. So you should review your strategy. Maybe you decided the wrong kind of restaurant for that region. Right.
Absolutely. Or if you don't have, chicken Parmesan or eggplant Parmesan as a sandwich, you are missing. Why are you here? Yeah. But actually, I want to give one good point to this. It occurred to me as we were talking, if I may, a good example of a strategy decision level choice for our restaurant is we're doing great. People are loving what we're doing. We're a successful business. Strategy question. Should we seek to expand our existing location? Should we open a second location across town? That is a strategy decision. I think everybody here could look at that and say, yes, those would have very different initiative and delivery level activity, right? One would be scaling of existing. The second would be creating an independent second location. Very different situations to choose and totally guided by strategy. So if you didn't have if somebody told you, just we need more seats, secure the empty building next door, or see if we can move one within a block, see if there's another location within one block, that we won't lose our customers, right? Why? To what purpose do we want to do that, right? You should understand that. Those are very different choices.
Right. When you talk about the 3 different horizons, and we are talking about being nimble, it probably have a different time frame for responding. So if I am in a strategy horizon and I want to be able to change, I cannot change every day because otherwise I'll get my initiatives crazy and all my employees crazy. But in the delivery horizon, you're probably changing every day. What's the usual time frame or strategies that I'm going to bring that Agile uses to make organizations more nimble?
Right. So you are completely correct if I'm talking about the horizons first, that they do operate on different time frames. If you are changing your strategy every few weeks, you don't have a strategy, right? That's basically true. And I don't think we have reaction buttons, but maybe people could put a chat in the a comment chat somewhere once in a while. I have worked in an organization that changed direction so often. I did ask and then was told to be quiet. I asked, do we have a direction? We're changing so often. Do we have an actual solid direction? And I was told, stop asking. And needless to say, I did begin looking for another job.
That was not the answer you were looking for.
It wasn't really helpful. It wasn't helpful. I said, it's not like it's only me who knows this. We are all running those different directions, and it leads to organizational fatigue, right? You just the team, everybody's like, and then we all start stopping. You don't invest heavily in your work at that point because you just expect it all to be waste in another week. So that's one thing. So we've all done that. So that's the strategy stuff. Your strategy should be fairly stable. I'd have to look at what we actually said, but I'm assuming if strategy is changing more frequently, other than in nuance, right? And other than in response to crisis like COVID, when we entered COVID, everyone's strategy changed. Everything was questioned, and appropriately so, right? The universe was suddenly different in every way it could be. Of course, you have to check your strategies, right? It's just how it happens. I can think of other examples. I'll leave that alone. So I'm just saying, you do want your strategy to be fairly stable and slow changing. Initiative should be where you start to detect, is your strategy working or not? And if not, can you change it? Or can you change what you're doing in alignment with your strategy? Like my sandwich menu example, right? 4 out of our 6 sandwiches are doing great. 1 we sell out of every day. 2, we sometimes don't sell very many at all. Selling sandwiches is still a valid strategy. Which sandwiches we need to adapt. If 1 out of my 6 did well and 5 out of 6 are doing poorly, that might imply that sandwiches are not the thing for this area. We should assess that and change our strategy potentially. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But changing the menu versus abandoning the menu completely, those are different things. I can change that menu fairly quickly, and that's okay, right? I can change the side dishes fairly quickly, and that's okay. So again, it implies what level of change you're dealing with. And you're right. You should be able to change the delivery horizon very rapidly. The initiative horizon changes are likelier to simply be slower at, and strategy should change slowly, very, very slowly in general, barring crisis. Generally speaking, and this is just me walking around again, I'd have to go look at the manual again, or the extension. A scale of weeks for delivery, or faster, could be days, okay, but not more than a couple of 2-3 weeks, generally speaking. Not more than 2 to 3 months at the most, for the initiative level. They should be fairly stable, but changing on a scale of a month to 2 months, and strategy is less frequently than that. And all of this depends on the uniqueness of your specific universe, okay? Given the human aspects, cultural and otherwise, look, if you're a startup, you may be changing things constantly. If you're a 20-year-old company, you're probably not changing your strategy constantly, and nor would anyone expect you to. How'd you get to 20 years if you change your strategy every time? Are you even the same company anymore? Really?
Yeah. Sometimes that's what they're buying, that you're stable. So stability may be a value for some organizations, and so don't change your strategy every day.
Yeah, it all depends, and different things in different conditions, right? And we could definitely talk about that extensively, but I'll leave that alone.
Right. There are 2 comments here for us.
Yeah.
First one, telling a BA to stop asking questions is ridiculous. That's your job, right? I changed jobs when told that too, so you were not alone on that situation. And there's another one here. I may need your help because I don't understand the terms very well. Maybe a negative spin on nimble includes the terms priority, whiplash, and squirrel. I don't know what those terms mean.
So, okay, squirrel is a bit of a. I'm sure there's a parallel here. Maybe it's a great cross-cultural moment. You can tell me later. There's a joke that it comes from one of the things is the movie Up. I don't know if you've seen that one. It was really fun.
With the balloons in the house.
With the balloons, yes. Remember the talking dogs?
Yes.
So did you remember at any point a bunch of dogs are
squirrel.
talking? And yes, exactly. Squirrel. It's like they're talking, they're having a conversation. Squirrel. That's the concept there. So you saw the whiplash in my head, but you also saw my priorities changed. A squirrel just ran by. I'm chasing whatever we were doing is no longer important. I'm running after the squirrel. Right. And that would definitely be a thing. A friend of mine and I often use the phrase, my favorite color is shiny. Whatever's shiny is what I'm running after right now. But that's a different concept. That's as applied to a business. That doesn't apply to me, not usually.
And that's very interesting because when we are talking about sensing and adapting, sensing and respond to change doesn't mean you have no priorities or that you are just changing all the time, but you are always searching for the best option to get your outcomes. And that's the alignment you made between I should change the delivery, but keeping the focus on the outcomes I expect for an initiative. And I should change my initiative, keeping the focus on the outcomes defined and expected by strategy. And so if I keep this alignment, I will keep myself working in the right direction, as you said, when I'm flying from an airplane and seeing if people are running to the right direction.
Right, exactly. Right. You can see what you can see from certain horizons, and what you see and what you can tell. Right down here, right at the ground level, I can only see so much. And I lose that detail. I can only see so much, but I see it with great detail. I see what's around me very clearly. And if I go up in an airplane, I can't see the detail anymore, but I can see the big picture. That's why we use these terms. I think this is a good minute for me to bridge a point, if it's all right with you.
Okay.
So we've been talking about nimbleness and agility as somewhat different, as different topics. One is a how, and one is how you do it in business, and one is how you do it with software, like the methodology. This is why there is that intersection of agility on the software side with nimbleness in the business side. Picture if you have a heavy waterfall environment and you want to be business nimble. Well, waterfall says I'm going to do all of my planning and all of my design and all of my planning, all my requirements, all of my design of the software, all of my build, then et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We already know what this is, right? All of everything before any of the next. Well, that doesn't work very well for adapting to change, because all it does is reset the work you've done all the way back to the beginning. If you have to have, let's just say, a radical change beyond what a CR might be, small change around the margin, sure. Big change, radical change, directional change, I'm not prepared. Mm-hmm. And as agility likes to say, look at all the waste, right? Look at all the waste that's there. I've done all of this planning activity. And beyond a certain level, you can't do planning unless you pull developers in to figure out how much you can build when and how to do the technical design and so on. And if you're not pulling in developers, look at all the investment in BA work, right? To totally get all the requirements for a given thing. There's just so much waste if you do this in a waterfall pattern. So nimbleness and agility tend to go together in a lot of environments, because folks who are wanting to be nimble want a software framework that supports them in harnessing the power of change for competitive advantage. And that's right on the label, in a manner of speaking, in the Agile Manifesto, right? It says, and I like to point this out. The Agile Manifesto is about software development. It says it right on the label. We are uncovering better ways of doing what? Making sandwiches? No. Developing software. We are uncovering better ways of developing software by doing it and helping others do it. And then we deal with the individuals and interactions, working software, collaboration, and responding to change. We value that more over the following a plan. If you're following a waterfall plan, it's a little bit the opposite, right? We value heavy planning over immediate delivery, right? And that doesn't get you the value and the learning right away. So if you're seeking to be business nimble, you frequently want software agility right with it. They go together like burgers and fries.
Yeah, I like that. And as you said, the manifesto said that we found different ways of doing software development. It was very related about ways of doing. And I understand that those ways of doing was getting, they didn't use this word. So this is like we are trying to put a new word to help to clarify that, but to become nimble. So we are being able to adapt faster and with more precision with that. And there's a question here that may illustrate that. And a question from Zara. Do you have an example of a plan on one page? It doesn't have to be a plan on one page, but some technique or some kind of planning on each horizon, and some way that an agile technique that could help someone to plan on different horizons, where I could, what's more useful for planning on delivery, on initiative, on strategy, or different ways of seeing it?
I don't know that I have an example, and I appreciate folks for putting their names in the comments there. It's appreciated. Zara, I don't know that I have that kind of thing. If you look at the Agile extension, I'm noticing it's PDF page 27. It has the planning horizons, and it talks about what goes on each one. And I don't know if you were dialed in at the time, but I'm just going to point out in our restaurant example, the strategy is, what will our menu be? What is the style of our restaurant? Will we serve a certain kind of cuisine? Will it be takeout? Will it be sit down? Will it be fine dining? What is the format and menu? Those would be strategy choices. Initiative would be the details of that strategy. We will serve these, given that we've picked American food, sandwiches, certain hot plates, certain drinks. That's our menu. We've decided it. And then delivery is the ability to deliver those things, right? The actual delivering of them. And in a separate thread, we might consider the necessary advance actions to be successful at those things. Okay.
Right.
Pretending your business is operating.
If we think about a software organization, we could say that in a strategic level, we're defining our products and what resources are going to invest in each one of those. In the initiative level, we would have our products, and in the delivery, our backlogs for different products, product backlogs. And at the delivery horizon, we would have the sprint backlog or something like that.
The sprint or two backlog. Like I like to say, the delivery horizon shouldn't go beyond 1, possibly 2 sprints into the future. So the current one you have being sprint 0, not that it's being the current sprint is not counted. It should be now and maybe the next sprint and maybe the one after, but any further than that, and you're really far. You're further than the delivery horizon for sure.
And you are taking the risk of reworking because something may change, and you are defining too much earlier without having tested those stuff.
Exactly so. And kind of to the point we were saying, the more you have to collaborate and coordinate tightly with other teams, either in whatever way you are coupled to them, then the more you have to invest in the scaling activities and scaling framework type activity, which is not necessarily value added, but it is necessary to function at scale, right?
One comment, the suggestion from Brienne, she said, not a plan on a page, but I have linked the business case to strategy horizon, a charter to initiative horizon, a project plan to delivery horizon. That's kind of odd because those deliverables are more related to a waterfall approach than to an agile approach. But do that list make sense for you?
For me? Yeah, I mean, it can. I think it depends on where we're working in and what your culture and what your environment is. In companies that have a lot of structure and a lot of hierarchy, it may be necessary for you as a BA to be able to trace, here are the strategy things, here are the initiative things, here's what we're delivering, and exactly how it lines up to those things. You may be on the, I was going to say on the hook, and then I felt like I shouldn't say that because there's a lot of negative to that. My thought is that you may be, for political or direct reasons, it may be a plus to be able to show for your team, we are doing these things, and here is exactly how they line up to where the company has asked us to go. That is not an invalid thing to do. It is sometimes simply necessary, okay? And the larger a company is, or the more resource constrained you are, where everyone is fighting for different resources, then that may be the right thing to be doing. I'm not trying to malign such activity. I agree, Fabrizio. I think you were kind of going towards the idea that it would be, if we're doing a a project charter and then a BRD and then an FRD, yeah, you're not being very agile there. That's probably more of a waterfall pattern, because look at all the work you're investing in each of those when it may be useless, right?
Yeah. But anyway, understanding the connection between the three horizons is key. Being formal about this connection may change from political reasons from one organization to another. So, so the level of formality may change from organization to organization. The need to understand this connection is for everyone, independently of the size of the organization. Connecting those three, this alignment making sure that the delivery team is running through the right direction that was established on the strategy. As you said, I'm looking for the airplane and see they're going in the right direction. That's key for any.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to point out that even to every BA who's listening, or product owner, or any whatever role you're in, I think the thing I want to point out is, like, I was just doing this with my client before we were talking today. They were throwing out some things at the delivery horizon that we were looking to do, that they said, well, if we do these things, I said, those are great things. I don't disagree that those are useful for us. What deliverable will they ultimately connect with? What part of our strategy do they align to, as you've communicated strategy to me? And it's still the same person. I'm working very closely with a senior leader, and I'm appreciative of the connection I have there, and the fact that we have a good, positive relationship, and I'm free to ask all the questions I was told to shut up about at a previous life. And I was saying, I get it. I totally get what you're asking for. How does this align with the things you've told me are really important? Because I can't quite draw the line. And I'm so grateful that that person said, I see the confusion, and I'm not sure I can draw it for you yet either. Let's talk about that a minute, because I know it's there, but I see why. Riffing a little bit, we said, yeah, I see. If I, Ryland, cannot see how the thing you're asking for connects to the strategy we know we're supposed to be executing, then I probably can't be successful for you as your advocate, your analyst, and your proxy as I do your work. And so we sat down and we talked about it. And then I see, now I get it. I totally see how it connects. And he said, yeah, talking about it made it real. And I took my notes, and now I know where I'm going to go, and I see how the two connect up. And I'm not sitting there wondering, I get what I'm doing, but I don't know why, which makes it hard to do, right? If you don't know why you're doing it, at least, the way I like to do my work.
That's your right about making questions, and that's the value that those questions brings to the table. It brings this reflection. It helps people to sense and respond to changes. So you are bringing those changes or those situations up front. I like it.
Yeah.
Ryland, I think we covered a lot of nice, interesting stuff right here. And I thank you very much for coming with me and making this open chats. And for those who don't know you and don't know the amazing books you have for business analysts and for arranging their backlogs, I know there's a new one. I would give you the opportunity to present yourself and say, for people who want to chat with you more, how can they find you?
Sure. Let me tell you a little about how to connect with me and what I'm looking at for this year, because actually there's a lot going on between now and probably the sometime in March. So the three best ways to get a hold of me are going to be LinkedIn, which is Ryland Leon. I mean, just look at LinkedIn and search for Ryland Leon. I think I'm the only one. I am still using Eventbrite. That is a good way to get a hold of me also. So that's just rylandleon.eventbrite.com. And you can also take a look at I'm somewhat cringeworthy website, rylandleon.com, because I just started refreshing it. There are a whole bunch of things there that say placeholder, but it's got the about me and connecting to and all that stuff. I have right now I've kind of declared, because I have been getting a ton of career questions from people. So 2024 is your year of career, is how I'm trying to make this. So I have a conversation this Thursday upcoming, which I'll be posting to YouTube after we've done it, where I'm talking about the difference between, I think the title is Leadership, Management, and Just Doing Your Job. How do all those things affect you as a person who are either just getting your work done, or you as you're thinking about something about your career advancement, right? If you want to get into being in a management role, or you just want to be a very senior kind of BA, leadership and management still apply to you, those as skills and topics. I'm going to talk about that and take a lot of questions. And then I have a talk coming up in a couple of weeks with Angela Wick, who, if you don't know that name, you should look it up on LinkedIn and be following her also. I know, Fabrizio, I know you're good friends with Angela. And she is great at getting the BA career started. So I'm going to have a conversation with her. And then I have probably 3 unbooked talks from people who are in various levels of leadership and management themselves. And this is in and outside of the business analysis space, to talk about what they learned about becoming a manager, like what did they think was real and what wasn't. And we're going to have that in an interview format similar to what Fabrizio has been doing with me today, and what they can offer you about it. Like, what have they, and one of these folks I'm so looking forward to is like a 70-year-old person who's done like a military career and a professional career. And I'm hoping he'll still be available. Someone else is a recent manager who's gone in, and someone else is a business analyst manager who I think can talk to you at length about servant leadership and how they see the management space. I will be at BA World in Toronto in March. I might be at Agile Austin. If anyone is going there, please let me know. And I am possibly going to be offering some classes on user stories, or possibly a business analysis skill series. And I'll be looking at that. All that will be coming up and announced on LinkedIn. So if you are not following me there, please take a look and connect there. And it's been a pleasure, because I know I'm seeing a ton of questions that'll be, and some familiar names and some new ones. So please connect with me on those places. And Fabrizio, this has been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to us picking a topic and doing it again sometime.
All right, we will do it certainly. Thank you very much for coming, Ryland. It was a great pleasure to have you. Thank you, everybody who joined us on the chat and sent your questions. Sorry we were not able to answer every one of those, and I should sorry myself, because I cannot read in English and listen at the same time, and sometimes that's hard for me. So at least we could pick some of those. But Ryland is still on LinkedIn. You can send him his question, or if you want to send me a question, let's keep chatting on LinkedIn. This is a network, so let's connect on this network. Ryland, thank you very much. Hope to see you again soon.
Likewise, it's always a pleasure. Thanks, Fabrizio.